Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be going over my review of the X Arcade. So I've been playing this exclusively, well, basically with Pinball FX VR, and I've been playing it for about a week. I have a MetaQuest 3, and I have the Bobo VR S3 Pro headset, which is really awesome addition to the MetaQuest 3. Has the battery pack and things like this. Really is upped my game as far as VR goes. Not much of a VR player up until this generation. I had a PSVR 2 once upon a time. Had really had a hard time with the Fresnel lenses. The pancake lenses on this thing have been an absolute game changer. That thing aside, I really love the MetaQuest 3. I love the VR infrastructure. I love being able to connect it to my gaming PC, to be able to do play things like Zaccaria Pinball VR that way. I played Star Fox VR. I played Pinball FX Classic VR, which is really awesome as well. Has a lot of different formats to it, and a lot of different things going on in that. So I got this controller to try it out, and I tell you what, I thought it would really up the game and really give me a good sense of realism in comparison to the 4KP. And I really say I've had a really hard time with that. We're going to swing around the table here. So here is my Legends Ultimate Mini, and we're going to get back to that in a second. But over here is the 4KP. And so this is my exclusive gaming console, essentially, for Pinball FX. It's been just an absolute game changer. Absolutely love it. It's given me the feel and the haptics, the wonderful sound effects to it, leaderboards, things like that you really couldn't get in a lot of different other ways. So when I got the X Arcade, I really thought that this was going to up the VR experience to another level. And while it does to some degree, I want to get into some of the specifics as to why I don't know that it's a worthy addition to most people's homes. So this thing, what it does is it allows you to connect to your Pinball FX in a way that allows you to feel, not really feel, but have the controller flipper buttons on your fingers, and it actually aligns everything for you in Pinball FX VR. Now, the thing is, it doesn't necessarily do that in Zaccaria Pinball VR, and it doesn't do that in Pinball Classic VR or Star Wars VR. So it's kind of got a limited use case to it. Some of the biggest things that I've had a problem with thus far are some of the smallest things that you'd think there'd be a problem. Now, as far as the build quality of this thing is absolutely fantastic. It's a steel casing, has a really good sturdy base. I love this acrylic with the X Arcade logo, which can be changed to anything from ice blue to rainbow to all kinds of different things. It's really pretty. It's versatile. You can have it blink. You can have it be colored. You can kind of do a lot of different things with it. The buttons here are really high quality. They're very quiet. The ball is nice and smooth. Joysticks are quite nice. You actually have options to change them out to 4-way, 8-way, and different things like that. You have holes for the MetaQuest controllers to drop into when you're into a VR mode, which is a really cool feature. There's actually clips on the front to actually hang either the controllers or cords or anything you really want, honestly. You can do a lot of different things. The headset, in many cases. So the first problem you have here, at least for an exclusive pinball person like myself, is you only have one button. You do not have a nudge button at all on this thing. So you have a flipper button on either side, and then you have the nudges are being done with the left joystick. So that makes it really easy to put your hand here and actually do a left nudge. Pretty easy, right? You can just smack that pretty easily. You can do an up nudge pretty easy if you want to do a digipass from one side to the other. The problem is when you have to reach over and kind of pull this back the other way. It's not super intuitive. I have pretty big hands, but it's still kind of a bit of a reach to be able to do that. I don't know. It's something that they are addressing. They are releasing a haptics kit for this. But the problem is that haptics kit, you got to figure, is going to be at least $150, probably closer to $200. This is already at a price point of about $400. So we're talking about a controller that really doesn't have any other functionality other than connecting to a PC or console with adapters, sadly. I was hoping at the very least I could connect this to a Nintendo Switch 2 and play games that way. Maybe hook it up to a 32-inch or a 40-inch monitor in vertical and play it that way, and kind of make my own cabinet. Or at least something that could rival the 4KP in some way, shape, or form. So the fact that they are bringing out a haptics kit means that they recognize the market that they are in and the situation that they were in, that they could offer more. They're actually going to be having a plunger addition that'll actually hang off the side here. They're adding vibration haptics and two here, and then there's actually two major speakers up top that actually have some really good functionality to them. They separate audio and vibration into two different meters, which I wish the 4K would have done, because you do have some issues with exciters and things like that being a little too excitable in some audio and not others. So there's some issues there. But in its current form, this controller is really, it prices itself out of being functional for a lot of people, I think. Now, if you're going to be using this for arcade games as well, there might be more functionality for you. However, you can get a lot of different... You can get this to line up to virtual arcade cabinets, if you will, and play two-dimensional games in VR, which to me, maybe I'm not the perfect use case, but right here, when I come back to this here, I'm like, okay, I already have a Legends Ultimate Mini. I can play those games, already. And I even have pinball flippers on this thing with nudge if I needed to. Now, granted, they're no longer releasing games. There's no more games being released for this necessarily. They're mostly coming out for the micro and for the 4K. But there is pinball games on there. And I also can play all the two-dimensional games. I could do Coin Ops X on this. And I would have to connect a PC to this and do Coin Ops on here, or have some other possibility, either a Raspberry Pi or connect to Legion Go. That's a really easy option. If you want to connect to an Xbox or PS5, you have to get additional adapters, which can be pretty pricey. Quite a few, like Brook adapters and things like this, it really is not a very easy setup. So that was the biggest thing that I had problems with. Even a switch I thought would just be just a simple HDMI connection is not. Some of the problems that I have with this thing, so I'm thinking, okay, this is a pretty cool setup. It's pretty solid, very good steel quality controller, all that. It's its own whole cabinet essentially. Now, what I would have liked them to do is integrate some of the functionality of the headset to be able to charge. Why not have this thing have a automatic charger right on top of the system here? That would have been really cool. One of the biggest problems that I have is, and maybe it seems minor, but to me this was a big issue. This little dongle, this is the dongle that you hook into your MetaQuest 3, and you actually use this to connect to the controller without additional setup. You don't have to connect through Bluetooth or anything like that. You just plug in the dongle, and you're good to go. What's interesting is when you plug in this dongle, even though my headset is not on, it is now flashing. So it's going to think that it needs to draw power, and it's going to try to connect all the time. So to me, that's a parasitic power draw, which is it's not something I want to deal with. So I'm going to have to unplug this thing all the time. The other thing is when I go to play, I have to use this dongle. So I plug it into the USB port here, the USB-C. Then I connect my Bobo VR S3. And the thing is, if I have all of this connected, now I'm using the battery pack from the Bobo VR to power not only the fan in the headset, but also the Quest 3. Now no longer does the dongle work. I actually sent a message to X Arcade and said, hey, what's going on here? I can't get my controller to connect to Pinball VR. And what I had to do is I had to physically go into the main settings of the Quest 3 and actually reset the headset fully without the Bobo VR headset connected, so that this would reconnect with the XR controller for it to actually work. Once I get into Pinball FX VR, then it shows up, it connects. I drop the controllers in and I'm good to go. But now I have to run, I no longer have the ability to run the Quest 3 with the battery pack. So I'm like, okay, well, I could still use the fan. So I can still use it for cooling, which is cool. But now I no longer have the ability to power that independently. So that was a big problem for me. One of the issues that I came across too is when I was trying to run, I did my link cable for my PC, which is across the room here. So right across here, I'm like, okay, I got this 10-foot cable, and I was able to run my PC link cable or Steam Link cable over here. I could plug it in here into the dongle, and guess what? That doesn't work either. So I had all kinds of issues trying to connect different things here and there and everywhere, and I feel like I was hitting my head up against the wall many times, quite a bit. And what it really came down to is, what is the value of this controller? For me, if I had to rate this thing, I would give it maybe a 6. Like, when you're actually playing Pinball VR, I think it does a really good job of translating what that experience is like into real life. But the quality of the game isn't going to change. It's literally just the buttons, the feel of the buttons, the fact that you have a physical item to grab a hold of and actually push the buttons is really good. This side is actually pretty good. You have a place for your hands to be able to reach and wrap around the end of this thing. But on the right side, they expect you to use this button right now for flipper or for the plunger, which can be disappointing. It works, but even with your hand resting here, you're going to hit these two buttons. And so some games will actually require you to use a plunger during the game in different instances, and this might be an issue. You're kind of hanging off the edge here. I don't know. It was just something that really bothered me. It kind of took me out of the experience. And ultimately, I'm thinking to myself, I don't think that I'm getting near the functionality that I was expecting here. Now, I know that they're working on the haptics kit. I think that's certainly an option to make things a little better. But man, oh man, I was really disappointed overall in not the quality of the device. The quality is actually fantastic, but really the functionality. There's some things that need to be cleaned up. Now, I mentioned to X Arcade about the dongle. They actually they're making a new dongle that will be compatible with the Bobo VR headsets and other accessories. But it might be a little bit too late for me. I thought this was something that I was really hoping to replace my Legends Mini Ultimate with this, and to do a 32-inch monitor or something like that, and really create a really cool environment for games. But in the end, I think I'm going to end up keeping the Legends Ultimate Mini, or maybe going up to a CE for 2 players. But to me, I just felt like, the cost of entry with the Quest 3 was already, $300-400 for this. It costs another $80 for the headset. You're paying for games, of course. For this is going to be another $300 if you got just the top, the tank stick itself. With the pedestal, that's another $100. So in this configuration, it's going to be $400. If you want the additional accessories, if you're pinball only, you're going to want the nudge, which comes in the haptics kit. It's not going to be a button. It's going to be a accelerometer, which, if you're like me, I'm very good at pinball on the 4KP, but we use those nudge buttons on the side as opposed to the accelerometer because of the speed. The accelerometer is just not quick enough. There's a bit of a delay, and it's gonna mess with your game. So it's a real shame that they didn't have a way to add an additional button here, add the haptics to it, give us the plunger, and ultimately maybe move these buttons over a little bit and give us a little extra room on this side. I think would have been helpful. If they had added a charger dock or some way to integrate this would have been great. They don't even, one thing I thought, in the interim, they could have just put USB ports on the back of this thing, high-powered USB ports, and be able to charge your Quest 3 while you're playing that way. Or even just have a USB out the back to charge it when it's not being played. They don't have that either. So ultimately, I just found myself more frustrated than not with the X Arcade. Really hope that I get a chance to try out the haptics kit and see if it's really worth, and really what the cost is going to be. I think that cost point is going to be compelling to some people. For myself, it's a little bit of a tougher sledding. I looked at this thing almost exclusively for pinball, and so maybe it doesn't fit exactly well with me. This is a really good controller for things like fighting games and things like that where you have two players. Obviously, this would be wonderful to Arkanoid and Centipede and things like that. But for me, the X Arcade, really I'm disappointed overall. So really hoping that they step up their game, at least in the pinball thing. I believe that they have unlocked a market that I don't think they really anticipated to start with. But I would like to see them expand. I would like to see them get a hold of Zachariah Pinball VR and get this integration into their systems. That would have been a huge addition, as they already have about 150 games in VR. Whereas Pinball FX is kind of starting out. They have about 15 or 16 right now, maybe 17 games. Tables. So, I don't know. It just feels like they could have done a little more on that end. But thanks for sticking around, guys. I really hope you got what you needed out of this review, and we will see you next time. Bye.